What's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be ranking every single one of the 8 twin blades that are currently in Elden Ring. Just quickly before we start, please subscribe because when we hit 3K, we're going to be fully beating the game with our bare fist only. So if you're somebody who wants to see that, don't forget to subscribe. There's no quote-unquote best twin blade in the game, so this list is going to be just preference. But if you disagree, let me know in the comments. Rating these are going to be pretty easy because we're just going to go over the pros and cons of each one to see the upsides and downsides of all of them. Just to make sure I didn't miss anything too major, I spent like 3 hours just making a whole sheet, so if I miss anything, let me know. But without further ado, I think it's time to jump in here. If you like this video, please drop a like, it would help a lot. But jumping into the very last spot, at number 8 is the Gargoyle's Black Blades. For a weapon to be good in this game, there's a few things you have to look for. The first thing I usually look for is how to get that weapon. This guy is, that's how you get it. So, if you ever fought with these guys, go fight him. Trust me, it'll be the best experience of your life. But putting that aside, you immediately see that this is a somber weapon, which means you cannot infuse this with any Ashes of War or affinities. Blackblade Kindred drops a variety of weapons, and most of them have special HP sapping effects with their Ashes of War. The one on the left is the sword that the normal Gargoyle drops, and the one on the right is the one that the Blackblade Kindred drops. So clearly, the one on the right has a special Ash of War that has an HP sapping effect. But the Twinblade's Ash of War isn't special at all, it's literally terrible. But just for the cherry on top, this weapon requires a lot of faith, and later on in the game, it doesn't even scale with it. I don't know about you guys, but I would be pretty excited to see that all the points I put into faith after killing the worst boss in the game, hey, yeah, say goodbye to it. You can give that thing a giant middle finger. Oh, hey, I'm not gonna even just stop there. You can't even grease this thing since it's a somber weapon. So yeah, go ahead and throw those directly in your nearest trash can. They could have made this weapon really good if they just added a unique version of spinning slash, just like they did with the sword. I mean, it's legit just vacuum slice, let's be honest. I don't know what to say about this guy anymore because I can tell you right now, I'm not going to kill one of these guys post Morgot when I could just grab something that has a higher AR and it can be buffed at the start of the game. But it's Elden Ring, so can't get everything we want. So this thing is staying hard in number 8 spot. I'm not changing anything. I don't care what anybody says. Now you might be saying, Holy is good in the DLC. Why are you putting this in number 8 slot? Well, you're right, kind of. You might want to triple check how much holy damage this thing actually does before even thinking about taking it into the DLC. I mean, you could just put the Sacred Affinity on any other Twin Blade and have it do 3 times as more holy damage than this thing. But yeah, number 8 spot. Nobody's changing my mind. This thing absolutely blows. Number 7, the good old reliable Twin Blade. Hate to say it's been a while since I used this one, but I know that it's actually really decent for how early you can get it into the game. You could infuse this weapon with different Ashes of War, so that's already a plus. Seeing this is really good because using self-weapon buffing Ashes of War are just amazing. And like the last one, if a weapon is somber, you can't change the Ash of War or use any type of greases on it. No magic either. No magic whatsoever. But something being infusible means you could also take affinities into mine. And with a click of a button, you could change the weapon instantly with affinities. This will not only make your weapon more versatile, but honestly just way better. You could take one of the worst weapons in the game, slap the blood infusion on it, and actually make it usable. But at the end of the day, there's nothing better than seeing a frost or a bleed proc. But looking into the movesets of the Twin Blades, it's pretty simple. There's only 2 different types of movesets for the Twin Blades, and both of them are really good. But the multi-hit talismans work perfectly with the Twin Blades, arguably the best weapon type to use it on. The R1s make it really easy to get quick amounts of damage in, and then the R2 just hits so many times, it's incredibly nice. And honestly, these things still do some pretty hefty damage without even any talismans or buffs. I mean, the only slight bad thing about this weapon is the dex requirement, but it's not even that bad, it's just a couple levels. But unfortunately, there are better Twin Blades, so this is going to stick in the number 7 spot. In number 6, the Twinned Knight Swords. Is literally the same thing except with a little bit more attack. It's a fusible, it's a smithing stone weapon. It's literally the same exact Twin Blade except it has a slightly higher attack rating than the other. And an extra 3 levels in strength, which, I mean, you got Radagon Sword Seal over there, so it doesn't really matter. But honestly, I could literally just say the same exact thing I did for the other one. It's the same exact Twin Blade. Come on, guys. The only thing that I would give to this one, and the only thing, is that it looks cooler. I don't think I would ever switch a Twin Blade just over a little bit of damage, but that's just me. Literally the same exact Twin Blade. It's staying in number 6. Number 5, the Black Steel Twin Blade. This one is pretty cool, and I really do like the moveset a lot. It has a pierce charger too, and also there's something really cool about this. If you look at the description of the weapon, it says that Holy Imbuement will amplify the effect and greatly increase the armament's power. But hold on, don't take the greatly increase the armament's power into consideration yet. I did in fact test this, and I was only able to get 137 holy damage increase. Now, I don't know if that's greatly to them, but it is definitely not to me. But I'm not going to complain. Extra damage is extra damage at the end of the day. Back to this thing's moveset, it has the same exact moveset as the Godskin Godskin peeler. So that means the fully charged R2 does have the poke at the end. And if you don't know, Pierce is the best damage type hands down in this game. But I'm going to say the same exact thing I did for the Gargoyles Black Blades. This thing does require faith, and the damage output you get is just sad from it. And again, upgrading faith for this one is kind of useless because, I mean, it just ends up scaling with Dex later on in the game anyways. But again, that's nothing that a Sacred Infusion can't fix. I do kind of like this Twinblade a little bit, but not enough for it to be in top 5. Number 4 is the Gargoyles Twinblade. Now please, nobody ask me why this Twinblade does more than the Blackblade Kindred. If you see someone running a dual Twinblade build, you will definitely see them using this one in at least one of their hands. The moveset is still the same as the first two, but this one does a lot more damage for some reason. Again, it's infusible, which is a great sign off the bat. But hold on, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, because remember, we do have to go through one of the worst boss fights in the entire game to get this weapon. Now, I don't know how any of you guys fight Valiant Gargoyles, and yes, I know there's a cheese for it, but what's the fun in that? Now, you could do what I do and just get extremely overpowered and use Knight's Lightning Spear on them, but what's the fun in that too? Now, if you love fighting the Valiant Gargoyles, you're just blind to yourself. You don't. There's not a worse sight to see than playing a randomizer than seeing these guys pop up in the worst arena possible. But you know what? I don't have a lot of bad things to say about this weapon except for that. It's just extremely good overall. Number 3, Eleonora's Pole Blade. I hope that these next 3 Twin Blades are going to be in everybody's top 3. But anyways, where do I start with this one? Now, this thing's moveset is what I'm going to start off with, and it is just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. But let's start off with the pretty noticeable fire and physical split from this weapon. Having a split damage type is one of my favorite things to see on a weapon because you could buff it using so many different things. You have all your regular stuff, and then you have the brand new fire stuff you could just slap on to make it even better. The normal talismans are good with it, but you usually only have 3 semi-decent ones to use, but that really solves the problem when you have a split damage type. Anyways, let's move on to this Ash of War, and let me just tell you, this is one of the best Ashes of War I've ever seen on a Twin Blade. Well, I guess there's only 8, but you get what I mean. But looking at this, I immediately noticed only 11 FP being consumed for this. I also noticed it's 45 stance damage per use, and it doesn't even take that long to use. And then you obviously have the amount of hyper armor it has. In a singular Ash of War, you have only 11 FP cost, dealing 45 stance damage with hyper armor, insane amounts of damage, and proccing blood loss. I guess the only really bad thing about this weapon is it's locked behind a semi-quest line, but you could kind of just bypass it. But it is dropped by an NPC, and if you watch any of my streams, you know that I hate NPC fights. Let me take that back. Who even likes NPC fights? Yes, I know there's a cheese for it, but I mean, when do cheeses work 100% every time? And plus, cheeses are boring. Just play the game the right way. So this thing is sticking in number 3 for me. Number 2, the Godskin Peeler. I don't think there is a more versatile Twin Blade in the game other than this one. Let's just quickly break this down for the people who haven't used this before. You have an Ash of War that annihilates big targets and just brings their health down like butter, and then you also have a Pierce poke at the end of the charge R2. And going off the fact that Pierce is the best damage type, this was an easy spot for me. But if you watched any of my other videos, you know that I love to talk about versatility. When thinking about how versatile something is, this Twin Blade literally just has it all. You have the fully charged R2 poke, and then you have the R1s to activate multi-hit talismans, and then you have the Ash of War to cut through bosses' HP bars like butter. And also feel free to bring those greases out of the trash can you threw out a while ago, because you could grease this one too. But let's also talk how you get this weapon. If you're new to this game, I could totally see how any type of Godskin enemy could be annoying or hard to you. But these guys are super weak to sleep. So as long as you bring about 5 or 6 sleep pots, you could literally easily clean up the fight. Other than that though, there's no real downside to this. This will always just be an extremely decent choice for Twin Blades. But finally, let's move on to number 1. You guessed it already, number 1 is Euporia. If you have ever touched this weapon in the DLC and used it to its max potential, you know exactly what I'm about to say. In this clip, I had a level 0 blessing and I did over 20,000 damage. And before you say, oh, well, you can't use the Ash of War unless you get a stun, well, that's kind of true, but it's also not. The beam that comes out of Euporia has a lot of range, so you could play from a safe distance while also using this. This one requires faith, but unlike the other Twin Blades, the damage you get in return is insane. Post 1.13, the potential of this weapon just absolutely skyrocketed. I'm actually so glad they changed this, or else Euporia probably wouldn't be in my number 1 slot. My favorite thing about this weapon is the Luster adds a flat amount of damage for the amount of times that you hit an enemy. I love self-buffing weapons, and this one self-buffs itself, I guess. But unlike the other faith scaling twin blades, this one actually has a good scaling for faith. All I can say for certain with this one is upgrading your faith is at least gonna make you do more than 132 damage, that's for sure. And since it does do holy damage, especially in the DLC, there's so much stuff to buff your holy damage. And honestly, I don't think there was any other twin blade capable of taking the #1 spot. But hey, if you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. Otherwise, if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe, because at 3K, remember, we are going to be beating the game only with our bare fists. Please don't forget to drop a like. It would really help me out a lot. And also, don't forget to join the Discord. It'll be in the description of this video. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I will hopefully see you guys all next time. Peace out.